Depending on the destruction of your post-apocalyptic event, it's likely that your society will fall back into its old ways. So if a town was first established as a fishing hub to get fish from the sea and sits on the coast, and then in the modern age it went on to be developed into a financial hub of the global world, when a post-apocalyptic event happens, it's very quickly not going to be of much use in that modern age area of expertise and will quickly revert back to the basics of why it was there in the first place. Providing of course that there is still fish in the ocean, and this will likely be true for most places that survive to a certain extent in your apocalypse. And it's down to back in the old days when towns and villages and cities were first established, they formed around places that had the basic necessities of water, food or trade, and of course some valuable resources on the side. So for modern cities in your post-apocalyptic world, what will happen to them if they're not around anything of necessity is that they're far likely to turn into a ghost town. Now of course that will be just to begin with when people are just after the necessities, and of course over time people might re-inhabit these older places as the population starts to grow again. Now these places and also items are likely to be repurposed to suit the needs of these usually more primitive societies, and that's mainly down to the loss of knowledge and people. So old skyscrapers or new tech buildings won't really be needed for what they were built for and might get pulled down or adapted into whatever the society that you've got there needs. And for the locals, technology that we take for granted now, like mobile phones, might feel more alien-like to them or odd. I mean, someone who hasn't actually seen a television before might wonder what on earth it's for and is likely to think it makes a far better table than it does standing up on its end. Because of course they might not have electricity, they might not know what it's for, and that could be with anything, whether it's your phone, vehicles. It's a red dragon! Certain areas like a skate park, things that we take for granted and we know what they're for, but for people in a new post-apocalyptic world that have no real need or have never seen these sort of things before, it's going to take a little bit of explaining for them to understand, or if they don't have the knowledge or books to understand what their primary use is for, it's going to be adapted or gotten rid of.
What is it, master? Clean water.
Now the same can also be said for names. If your post-apocalyptic society hasn't really been through too much and the world is kind of intact still, they will likely use the names of locations that are already there, because you'll still have signposts, people will still be able to use maps to get to places, so the idea of renaming something kind of feels a little bit useless. Though you can of course add flavors to this, like if you had a place called Wartling, you could call it New Wartling or the Republic of Wartling, depending on the people that live there. But if your world is more or less destroyed completely and there are new settlements built upon top of old, that's when the new naming system can come into play, and the new societies that are building can name the place what they want, usually based on geographical locations or the aesthetic or function of the place. And I do have a video that is all about this, which you can click on here. And of course, this is all without mentioning the conflict that happens between people within the same group when naming or repurposing and building places, which can always add a spanner into the mix. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers for watching.